Hello, everybody. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a little bit, answer any questions, and try not to be too boring.
Мистер Эванс приветствует всех, говорит, что сегодня он поиграет, ответит на любые вопросы и постарается максимально быть не скучным.
First, I'll just speak for a minute. This is the boring part of my background. I live just outside of New York City right now in a town called North Salem, about 1 hour north of New York City. And I started in 1980. I met Miles Davis when I was 22 years old. And I played with him for 4 years and recorded about 6 or 7 records. So can you imagine, I went from school to Miles Davis. I mean, it was a huge jump. And from there, in the 1980s, I was very fortunate to also get a chance to play many years with John McLaughlin and Herbie Hancock, and a lot of different groups, and it enabled me to start my own band and travel and play and travel, play and play and travel. In the meantime, I've recorded 19 solo records, and I just finished, I think, either my 19th or my 20th record, and I've been touring about 5 months a year, maybe 6 months out of the year. I feel very lucky and very fortunate to do what I do. The travel can be very difficult, but to play music is always great. It's always fun. I mean, it brings me to places like this and meet really nice people. It's a very interesting life, I must say. Last week I was in India. You know, I did a tour in India, and 2 weeks before that I was touring in Poland. And before that I was in the States, and you know, this week I'm in Moscow and Sochi, and you know. But number one, I'm a student of the saxophone. I'm always practicing. I'm always trying to learn how to play this piece of metal better. You know, I mean, because sometimes this instrument is you know, you feel like it's an easy instrument, and sometimes it feels like amazingly difficult. You know, and so you know, sometimes I get up in the morning and it feels like, wow, easy, you know. And other times it's like, you know, I'm playing, it's like, oh, you know, it can be a difficult instrument to play. But that's just, it's part of the process of learning how to play this instrument, you know. I mean, it's always something that I'm trying to express myself more with. You know, you never learn totally how to play this thing. You know, it's always a process of, you know, I may get up in the morning and you know, I'm working on something, you know, and you know, there's always something, you know, I'm always trying to say, oh, maybe I could always do something a little better, whatever. I spent time when I was coming up trying to play like everybody. Like I wanted to play like Sonny Rollins. You know, I wanted to play like, or you know, Joe Henderson, you know, or anybody, you know, like. You know, like Steve Grossman or Dave Liebman or John Coltrane. You know, I wanted to play like everybody. And as far as being a saxophone player, you want to learn how to say things on this instrument like everybody, to learn what's more you. This saxophone is just, it's another language. Jazz is just another language. Like speaking Russian or French or English. This is just speaking saxophone, speaking jazz, you know. So it's like, You know, in simple terms, you know, it's like, hello, how are you, you know? You know, whatever, you know? It's just another language. That's what this is. You have to put together small phrases, small sentences, and put them together and say something. You know what I mean? So in other words, something like this. I'll show you. Someone might say, what was that? You know? But in reality, it might be, could be one short phrase. Number two, number three could be number four, you know, little sentences. Hello, how are you? What's going on? You know, and then you put it together. You know, it's kind of like that. Does that make sense? You just put these things together, but you want them to sound good. You know, if I were talking, I wouldn't go, I wouldn't say, hello, how are you? Okay. Well, you'd say, it sounds weird, it sounds strange. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And so, you want to make it interesting. I mean, I'm not going to play my saxophone, and if you came to a concert and I played a solo and I just went, you start going, you know, it wouldn't be interesting. It wouldn't be. But if someone plays and you hear them, you go, okay. It's because it sounds interesting. It's colorful. Make it expressive. You know, it's an expressive instrument. You know, and so that's one of the things that I try to concentrate on. Is express yourself. Say something. But say something that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like all the saxophone players I hear in Igor Butman's big band are great saxophonists. They're making sense. They put the time in to learn what I'm telling you right now. I was very impressed, really impressed. To hear these guys play at the level that they play is way up there. So the stuff I'm telling you right now, they do already. And that's the stuff that's important as far as I'm concerned in playing. How many saxophone players are here? Raise your hand. Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm nervous. How many? Any guitar, piano, drums, anything like that? Okay. I mean, with saxophone, what you want to do, and one of the things that was the biggest influence on me, is play phrases that make sense. You have to learn, for me, you have to learn bebop. You have to, because bebop music, you can play anything. I did a session 18 years ago. I spent about a month with Mick Jagger, and he wanted me to play on his record. And I said, why do you like jazz musicians? And he says, because they can play. They're the people that can play. They can play any kind of music. He did say, they can play any kind of music. That doesn't mean you're just going to be a bebop player. That's all you'll be. You learn bebop, so like Charlie Parker, Sonny Stitt, Dexter Gordon, classic saxophonists. You learn the style so you can play anything. I hear a lot of different musicians, blues musicians, rock musicians. They come from rock, they come from blues, and it's great what they play. But to me, it sounds like they want to sometimes say more in their playing.
You mean when they play jazz music?
Well, no, when they're playing even their own music. For instance, if a saxophone player only knew how to play rock licks, it sounds like he's got a straitjacket on, and it's very difficult. You know, if a guy goes, I go like, oh God, you know. You want to hear a guy going, want to hear a guy play, you know, play some lines, say something, you know, don't just play blues notes. In order to get away from that, you have to learn bebop, you have to learn jazz, you have to learn phrases, you know. It allows you the freedom, and I do it all the time, and you're not going to be a pattern player. It doesn't mean you're just going to play those phrases. It just opens you up for different things. We have questions? Any questions?
Давайте вопросы.
There's got to be at least one. Any jazz questions? Music questions?
Bebop questions.
What was Miles Davis really like?
Скажите, пожалуйста,
There you go.
вы попали в группу Майлса Дэвиса, когда были совсем молодым начинающим музыкантом. Как это произошло? Может, у вас Майлз вас это услышал?
It's not anywhere.
No, he had an advertisement in the newspaper. It said, looking for saxophonists. It was a recommendation from Дэйвом Либманом. It was interesting because he called me on the telephone,
Дэйвом Либманом.
Miles, and he has a very raspy voice. You know, and the first thing he asked me was, are you better than Cannonball Adderley, John Coltrane, Lester Young? I'm going, oh, yeah. You can translate that?
I wanted to finish.
Okay. And I said, no. I said, I'll just try to play as best as I can. And he started laughing. He started laughing on the phone. So he said, come up. He had a building on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. He said, bring your horn. I want to hear you play tomorrow. So I'm thinking, this is the biggest audition of my life. I came over and there was a piano player playing. Bobby Irving was there, future guy
In
in
his
the band.
house?
Yeah, in the morning. And Miles walked up and he said, get out your horn. I had my soprano. And he said, play a blues. He said, let me hear you play. And then he stood right next to me like this. You know, with his dark glasses on. I'm thinking, wow, there's Miles Davis. And he said, play. And, so all the practice, everything over all the years comes down to that moment, you know. And it worked out okay because he said, if I were to play saxophone, I'd like to play like you. You're in the band, you know, whatever. And I went, but I mean, it was just, you know, we talked about bebop, we talked about funk, we talked about rock, and Miles said right then and there, he said the players that really know how to play bebop are my favorite kind of players because they can play anything, and that's coming from Miles Davis. Whatever, you know. So that's a very good endorsement for that theory.
Yeah, although publicly he avoided.
Well,
But
to
the
him,
time, it's like,
He already did it for him. He never wanted to go back and do something he'd done before.
but as a school, as a
Oh yeah, for players, yeah, absolutely. We sometimes played standards in rehearsals, just in a rehearsal. We couldn't get him to do it in the concert.
With bass guitar,
What's that?
standard, playing standards and rehearsals.
Yeah, the whole band. I mean, just little portions, like we did Bye Bye Blackbird, or When Lights Are Low, you know, just a little bit, you know, then he stopped. One time,
You wanted to provoke him.
yeah, I mean, you know, maybe a little bit.
Uh-huh.
One concert, I used to play piano sometimes in the concerts, and I went into a standard, When Lights Are Low, and he started to play the melody, and the audience went, yeah, and then he called me in his room that night. We're really good friends. He said, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Don't ever do that again. Okay, no problem. Are there any technical questions? This is a Dave Gardella tenor saxophone mouthpiece prototype, first one that he ever made. Medium opening, so it's like, you know, I can play soft. I never want to work too hard. You don't want to work too hard with your mouthpiece. You want something medium. Dave Gardella.
MP1?
This is the first one that he ever made. It was never sold.
Прототип. Это еще
This was by hand.
не на продажу, это ручная работа. Прототип, ну что надо.
Студию, модель.
No, there's no studio. This is just the first one. Before he made. This is first mouthpiece he made by hand.
Это его первый вручную сделанный, что он без номера, без серии, без ничего.
And he sold it to me for like $1,000 back then.
Everybody says that you play studio model.
No, it's not a studio model. because I played the studio and it doesn't work for me.
Похож на MB1?
This is in between all the other mouthpieces.
Ближе к MB1?
Is it closer to MB1?
No, it's, you know what, it's not really close to any of them because I can't really play the other ones. This one is, you know. It's yeah, I don't know. And it's a Van Doren number 2 or number 2.5. It's sometimes number 3s for the first time ever, but I use like
Full up.
these Java Van Doren number 3 or number 2.5, depending on how I feel and how often I played my horn that day.
What is hip hop in inches? Which? In inches, the hip hop in how you mouth.
No idea. I just play it. I have no idea. I'm not.
110, 115.
Yeah, I'm not really a technical guy. I'm not into the. I mean, usually when I take my horn to get it fixed, he looks at it and he says, "How do you play this?" You know, which is probably the condition it's in now. I don't recommend it, but for instance, Dave Sanborn takes his horn in every week. It's got to be perfect. Me, I take it in once every 2 years. But you know, it starts clanking and making noises and stuff. I just want it to work so I can play it. You know, I don't get into the other stuff. You know, that's why I've been using this mouthpiece for 30 years. God, I can say that now. Wow. Anyway, I'm gonna play something.
Без рефейса, нет?
With no refacing.
No, nothing. It's all just a regular kind of.
Can you tell us about people who started teachers?
Yeah,
Saxophone teachers.
I took some lessons with Eddie Daniels. And
Несколько уроков взял.
I used to get together with Дэйвом Либманом. I used to try and study with everybody. I mean, I wanted to get together with everybody I could. I wanted to learn as much as I can. I still do. I mean, I listen to as many saxophone players as I can. I mean, last night, you know, I hear that Igor, the big man, and I might hear Igor do something like, you know, I'll go, whoa, what is that? You know, I like to learn from everybody. You know, I hear something from everybody. I'm always open to try to play better, you know, and try to get something that inspires me. You have to be inspired for this, you know.
Мистер Эванс, вы стилистически очень разносторонний музыкант. Помнится, году в 96-м у вас вышел аудиоальбом с элементами рэпа, хип-хопа.
Да.
Да. Было такое. То есть вы обращаетесь к несвойственным для себя стилям. Тоже soul-грасс, например. В будущем сейчас планируются ли какие-то необычные для вас проекты по стилистике музыкальной?
Yeah, it's just fun for me. It's inspiring to me. I have a very short attention span, so for me, it's fun for me to hear different instruments. It makes it exciting for me to want to write music for different stuff. That to me is inspiring.
What about any upcoming projects like this, stylistically, or?
Well, me and Wallace Roney are going to do something. Wallace Roney, the trumpet player. We just gave a concert together 4 days ago in Montreal. With myself, Omar Hakim, Daryl Jones, Joey DiFrancesco, Larry Coryell, and Wallace Roney. That was a lot of fun. It worked out really well. And so we want to do something.
What was it like stylistically? More?
It was a tribute to Miles, so it was sort of that kind of music. But that band could go anywhere. I want to do stuff like that with him, you know, with Wallace. I just, you know, this thing, I like the sound of like a banjo and a fiddle is fun for me. It's interesting, it's fresh, you know, and it's, you know, if I came out every day, you know. If I just play jazz every day, I would get bored. So I mean, I got to have a change. It's got to change for me, you know. I mean, I love playing jazz, and I play jazz sometimes on occasion in clubs, but I have to do something that's for my own band, something that's a little bit different. I like My drummer is a singer, sounds great. I love that. You know, for me it's fun, it's interesting, and the audience can relate too. I'm always playing this. It's always the saxophone. So no matter what happens in back of me, this crazy guy, whoever, I'm still playing the saxophone, you know? And I see on people's faces, they're looking, they've never seen some of this before, you know, and they're smiling. It's great. It's a great feeling, you know?
I wanted to ask you if you ever tried to learn alto, baritone, and flute.
I do.
Yes, I'm asking because my daughter, she's a flutist, and she's going to study alto. So have you ever any advices?
My recommendation is do not pressure her, number one. This is supposed to be fun. This is not work. So as long as she likes it and she wants to play, beautiful. Because sometimes people come up and they say, I make my son practice 1 hour a day so he becomes great. The first thing I say is, why are you doing that? And it's and flute and saxophone are very similar, you know. So I mean, she can try it and see what she likes. She may want to stay on flute. She may want to play alto.
Did you play flute?
I did. But you have to play flute all the time. You have to keep it up. And I played it in college, in high school. I don't play it so much anymore, so my tone won't be the same. But I started playing more saxophone, and the flute started to suffer a little bit, and I would get called sometimes in New York to play flute solo or something, and I used to say, are you sure you want me to play a flute solo? But, so I mean, but just let her, give her the instruments and let her practice, let her do her own thing, you know. Any questions before I play something?
Вы записали свой первый альбом в 1982 году, когда еще играли в группе у Майлса Дэвиса. То есть была ли эта идея со стороны рекорд-лейбла, или это как-то сложилось по-другому? И насколько важно было в этом отношении, что вы являетесь музыкантом Майлса Дэвиса?
A record company approached, Bruce Lumbaugh approached me and said, you know, you've been playing with Miles a few years, would you like to do a record? I said, yeah.
И вы вот на этом альбоме играете с черными музыкантами, будучи белым, как это заметно.
No, my first record were the white musicians. Danny Gottlieb.
Дэнни Готтер,
No, it was Adam Nussbaum,
Адам Нусбаум,
Mark Egan,
Марк Иган,
Mitchell Foreman.
Мишель Форман.
Yeah. I don't look at it like that, you know what I mean?
Ну,
I
окей,
mean,
как бы, ну,
you can't really, I mean, it's music, it's music. It's like,
В России это
I grew up a poor black child in suburban Chicago.
есть такая особая шутка, когда кто-то много занимается на саксофоне или на фортепиано, ему говорят, будь осторожным, парень, от свинга тоже чернее.
It's actually, it's very true, it happens all the time. It happened to me, I mean, anyway. I want to play a ballad. I haven't practiced today, so I'll practice in front of everybody here. Mess around with it. Anyway, that was a very abstract version of so any more questions on anything? Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any exact warm-up exercises that you use?
Warm-up exercise. Yeah, I mean, for saxophone, I like to keep my embouchure very loose. That's the best way. So it's just that when I was very young, I was taught that to like just put the mouthpiece. You get a great sound. So it's the same. It's not like this. You don't do that. Everything is just relaxed. So I practice like that. Like, I like playing with Jamie Ingersoll. You know, everybody have the Jamie Ingersoll playing along records? I mean, everybody uses those. I mean, Michael Brecker was a friend of mine, and I used to call him up, even right near the end of his life, and he was playing with Jamie Ingersoll. I mean, everybody, you know, it's just a way to, you know, you could just warm up playing a blues, you know, like play with the Joe Henderson CD and play on, you know, one of the slower tunes, just to play, you know what I mean? You know, I hear things from different players, from all kinds of players, you know, I try to learn something from every saxophone player I hear. If I hear somebody, I'll say, I'll go back to my horn and go, I'll just try to learn things, you know. That doesn't mean every solo, you know, I'm going to do that. It's just as many things as you can get and play slowly. So if you want to play fast, play slow first. If I want to, let's say when I was learning phrases, I would go. I would feel every note. And make it feel good and sound good. Then your brain can understand. So you can go. So your brain, but if the first thing I do, slow. Questions?
Вопросы?
Saxophone questions?
Саксофонные, музыкальные.
Штрихи при этом остаются, когда вы уже быстро играете. Язык, вот где он находится, вот это очень интересно. Как много играли. Быстрые фразы, то есть 16-ми он играет на легато, или же все-таки язык возле трости находится L?
Close to the reed.
Близко к трости, да.
And yeah, pretend like you're singing on this instrument. I mean, what sounds better, this or the second one, right? You have to hear, you know what I mean? Try every possible way. The more you listen and hear it, the more it'll come naturally. you know? I mean, Miles used to come out and play one note, and people would go, oh. I mean, he'd come out and go like, and people would go, wow, amazing. Because people, they see you and they hear you first. Before you play notes, they hear you. So you want a good sound. Sound is very important. For me, when I was younger, sound was everything. So I was always practicing like, and my mother was like, God! She'd say, go in the closet. So I would. But the main thing I want to stress is everybody can play jazz. Everybody can play jazz. If you can speak a language, everybody speaks Russian, right? Then you can play jazz. The brain works the same exact way on this as it does like this. Same. It's exactly the same. Your voice can get you into more trouble than this. Yeah, sometimes. And sometimes the other way around. No, but so to learn and to do this, you learn sentences, jazz sentences. It's what it is, you know. Because sometimes when I was coming up, I would be sitting down looking at a clinic as a student. I would hear the instructor say, Mixolydian mode to the harmonic minor and I was going, whoa. And I left the clinic thinking jazz is difficult. And it doesn't have to be. If you practice one phrase a day, just one. Say Monday you went, that's all you played on Monday. And then the next day,
На следующий день.
And then the next day, let's say you went. So each day, let's say, you did one phrase. And maybe after 2 weeks you have 14 phrases. And you put those together. That's only 2 weeks. It only took you 2 weeks. Then those phrases start to mix in together. Because, all of a sudden, that might be 6 phrases, something like that. It's a way to practice, to learn phrases. And when you're practicing, record yourself, you know? And like if you're playing with Jamie Aebersold, record yourself. And when you hear yourself playing phrases that don't make sense, eliminate them. Try to play solos that make sense and eliminate. This is, for instance, let's say I was playing. Eliminate that. That helped me the most when I was coming up. So far, so good, right? And then you go. People are only going to remember that last part. So it's something to think about, you know. So before you get to that part, don't play that, you know. I mean, you're improvising, but be conscious of what you're playing, you know. Before you play exactly what you feel, learn what to play first. I mean, people are listening to you, you know. People are hearing you play, so. I mean, I'm giving you a lot of information now because we just have a short period of time. But I'm just telling ideas and things that I think are important.
Мистер Эванс, технический вопрос. Есть саксофонисты, которые предпочитают играть только в стойку микрофонную, мотивируя тем, что как бы можно отойти немножко, динамику ближе, дальше, там, регулировать динамику. А есть саксофонисты, которые только микрофонную радиосистему на прищепочке, на растру. Вам как комфортнее играть? Все равно в стойку или в радиосистему? Или вы предпочитаете что-то одно?
Attached to my horn. I've been playing it on my horn for so long. I like the freedom. It looks better. No, I like the freedom of when I'm in front of a microphone. I mean, I do. If I play, I sit in with somebody. There's a microphone. I can but I prefer, you know.
А вы на сопрано играете намного меньше, да, чем на теноре?
It's both. I love soprano. Soprano is a kind of a personal instrument to me. Depends on the kind of music I'm playing, but it's both. Because some songs sound better on soprano than tenor, and sometimes tenor. At home, on my recordings and other people's recordings, I'll play baritone sax, I'll play alto for the fun of it, you know. This sort of is my main horn. I'd love to take alto on the road, but I can't. The airlines have just given me so much trouble, you know. So I can only take my tenor and my soprano.
Мне нравится у вас на сопрано верхний регистр, как звучит.
I'll take my soprano for a second. I'll show you. It's that case right here. I get it. No space here. I got it. I made it down.
Ваш сетап
Soprano is kind of the one instrument that when you don't play it, your embouchure is kind of tired fast.
It's Mark 6.
Yeah, it's a Mark 6, yeah. This is for a wireless.
Ну, радиосистема.
And I've been using this particular mouthpiece as a Dukoff number 8. And I've been using this for 30 years now. Yeah, I've been using this 30 years and I have to look. Shows you how much I look at my mouthpiece.
Buffalo is
D. It's not super open. I like a warm sound. I like the microphone on the keys. I'm not working too hard. So it's a number 2 Van Doren. But I can still get a pretty big sound, you know. I was playing on a record with, it was David Sanborn's record called As We Speak. It's a really cool record, actually. And Dave had all these soprano mouthpieces lined up that he was trying. And I just happened to be there with my soprano in the studio, and he said, would you like to try some of these for the heck of it? Tell me what you think is good. And I put this one on and I went, terrible. Can I have it? No. And I really liked this particular mouthpiece, and I said, wow, it's great. And Dave tried it, and I'm like, no, I don't like it. So he gave it to me.
So it's originally the Sanborn's mouthpiece, right?
No, he borrowed it from the music store to try. He had and I tried it, and I really liked it. And I kept it. I've been using it ever since.
Okay.
A very interesting thing, because I like a very warm sound. You know. Sound. Kenny G has the exact same mouthpiece. Completely different sound. Because there was a big music convention 20 years ago, and he wanted to know what I was playing, and I said, and he looked at it and he goes, "Same mouthpiece as me." And I said, "It's impossible." And I took out his mouthpiece, and it was his mouthpiece. I went, "Wow, it was the same one." So everybody plays different. Any soprano questions?
How have you practiced to open the sound?
A soprano?
Yeah.
He just had a question. How do you practice to get an open sound on soprano? You just have to practice it and play it. There's no real technique. It's kind of a fun instrument. You got to practice it, you know, a decent amount. I mean, sometimes, you know, I like to do other things, but music too. You know, music is one thing. It's not like your whole life. A lot of people, it's just music. To me, it's fun, but I also like to play golf. I like to go fishing. I like to do all kinds of other things. You know, and sometimes you know, maybe I have a few concerts with my band and I haven't played my soprano in a week. And I'll go out and play and my chops go bam, you know, I'm going like, and I'm so mad at myself, you know, why did you let that happen, you know? But this is the one instrument you have to put time, so, you know, sometimes I'll do long tones until I get tired. And I'll try to play it as long as I can and keep it in tune. Because, you know, eventually you're going, you know, it's like, that helps a lot. That's a good question. I don't think about it that much. And then for the high notes, I hear it in my head. You know, it's not that easy, and sometimes that will, you know, keep it loose. The reed is an important thing, you know. A harder reed, easier to play higher, but yeah, it's leaking like crazy.
Мистер Эванс,
Anybody know a saxophone shop anywhere? What's that?
мистер Эванс, у вас не было желания поменять сопрано на модель с более удобной левой рукой? Все-таки Марк 6 это
Did you ever think of
совсем удобно.
Well, when the keys are too far out, it's awkward to me. This is like a speed machine. You know, these cylinders are like when the keys are too far out, like Yamahas and stuff, it's like I feel like I'm standing there trying to play, and then I get this thing, you know, and it's like this is like a Formula One, you know.
Помимо игры фраз каждый день, над чем вы занимаетесь именно?
When I was coming up, when I was learning jazz, I'll still say I'm still learning jazz, but when I was coming up learning jazz, I was always trying to add more phrases, trying to say more. I mean, I would. That's right. It disappears on that. You know, I was always trying to add. You know what I mean? So. Always, you know, I'd go, you know, I'm always trying to go one more step because you have to do stuff. I mean, I get bored practicing. I mean, I'm like trying to figure out what to play, you know, so I mean, I have to figure out things, you know. I may sit down and just go like, and then I might go, and then I might go like, you know, whatever, you know. Just keep adding and adding it because it just fits in your head, you know what I mean? It's kind of good because if you just play what you know, you're not getting better.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вот было такое обсуждение, что смуз в джазе саксофонисты чаще всего играют на сопрано, на альту, ну на теноре, но нет баритонистов, играющих смуз джаз.
It's too heavy to carry, I think. I don't know that much about smooth jazz, but alto, tenor, it's all saxophone, you know. To me, it's just all saxophone, just different registers. As long as it stays fun, the more fun it is, the better you get. And the better you get, the more fun it is, for sure. And so, I mean, if anybody's seen me with my band, we're having a great time. I mean, that's the one thing I hear in every city we go to in the world, is people say, you look like you're having so much fun. And we are. We're having a great time.
Один вопрос. Волнуется ли мистер Эванс, или если нет, то как давно он перестал волноваться? Вообще было ли волнение когда-то перед концертом?
All the time. All the time.
Нет, всегда.
I'll be more nervous playing a ballad here than I will playing for 2,000. Like 4 nights ago in Montreal, there were 3,000 people with me and Wallace Rowan. I felt very comfortable. You know, I mean, I don't know why. But when you're in like close quarters and saxophone players and you're playing, you're a little more nervous here than you would be there. A little bit. Yeah, being a little nervous is good. You're really alive, you know what I mean? I mean, you know, in India, there was a huge crowd. And some new music, it was me, ATN, my bass player, and John McLaughlin's drummer, Rajiv Baro, he's fantastic, and a guitar player. Some of my music, some of their music, but it was challenging. And, you know, that 1 minute before you go up and play and you see these people, it's like, you know, you're never more alive than that one moment, you know, before you play and you're walking up. It's a good feeling though, you know, I mean, you have confidence with what you can do, but you're always a little nervous, you know, it just shows you you're still alive, you know what I mean? Yeah, also, and I want to say, I've had a chance to play with different big bands in the world as a guest, and Igor's band is one of the best in the world, there's no doubt. I mean, I had a chance to listen to him, you know, to see a whole concert. It's a strong band. I mean, everybody can play, and it's as tight as any band in the world, not just here. I mean, this band is as good as any band in the world. I play with I've recorded 2 records with the WDR. I play with different bands everywhere on the planet, you know, and I'm really impressed. I mean, and you know what? One of the reasons is, aside from the fact they're great musicians, is you can tell they're interested. It's not ego. They're interested in. They're good people, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes some bands, you know, everybody thinks they're great or this and that. Here, everybody's interested in music first. It's a cool thing, I must say.
One final question.
Absolutely.
What is your attitude to writing after the great players? I mean, when you build up your own phrases?
In the beginning, I did like maybe 2 or 3, but it doesn't come easy to me. You have to sit down, but it's great for your ear. It's hard. I recommend it. One time.
On 2 or 3 only.
Yeah. But I'd listen so much. I wouldn't write them down, but I would listen so hard, you know. I didn't want to play. I mean, I wanted to understand what I thought they were thinking. You know what I mean? If I saw.
Rather than repeat.
Yeah, if I saw like a Coltrane phrase, let's say he was like, you know. I would want to do something like that. I'd want to understand, you know, like. I wanted to, you know. I wanted to assimilate. I wanted to understand what they were doing. And not only listening, but I'm watching, and I'm, you know, if they stood like this, or they stood like this, or like, you know, if they were like this. I just wanted to understand everything so that I could learn something from it, you know. You're still going to do your own thing. You know, you're still going to play your thing by doing that. It just increases your possibilities. All right, we'll do one more.
Если обратить внимание на ваше соло в одной и той же композиции, записанные на альбоме и сыгранные вживую на концерте, то это всегда очень разное по продолжительности, по насыщенности, ну, там, по степени агрессивности или лиричности. Как вы планируете соло для записи и соло для концерта?
Yeah, live is always better.
Да, это всегда более насыщенно, всегда длиннее и активнее, но вот чем это продиктована эта разница?
When you feel something from people, when you're in a studio, it's a studio. The good thing about the studio is you could always fix them and do them again. You know, you can still do good solos, you know, but you know, live is. I've done maybe I don't know 6 or 7 live records, and it's always a different kind of playing. You know, it's always like more. I think it's more of you when you're live. You know what I mean? I've played it a long time.
Thank you.